Have you ever felt like your brain is a leaky bucket? You pour in hours of studying, cramming for a test, only to find that just a few days later, most of that information has completely vanished. It's frustrating, right? You might think you just have a bad memory. But what if I told you this is a completely normal, predictable process that happens to everyone? This phenomenon has a name, the forgetting curve. And today, I'm not just going to tell you what it is. I'm going to give you the ultimate weapon to fight back and transform how you learn forever. So, what exactly is this forgetting curve? Let's travel back to the late 19th century and meet a pioneering psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus. He was obsessed with understanding how memory works, and he decided to experiment on the most convenient subject he could find: himself. For years, he memorized lists of nonsense syllables, things like wid or zoff, and then meticulously tracked how long it took him to forget them. What he discovered was groundbreaking and a little bit scary. He found that our memory of new information doesn't just fade away slowly and steadily. It drops off a cliff. The forgetting curve shows an exponential loss, meaning we forget things fastest right after we learn them. Think about it. Within the very first hour after you walk out of a lecture, you might have already forgotten up to half of what was said. After 24 hours, you could lose as much as 70%. And after a week, it's often over 80% gone, vanished into thin air. That's why cramming for an exam feels so pointless in the long run. You're basically pouring information into that leaky bucket, knowing it's going to drain out almost immediately. This isn't a personal failing. It's a fundamental feature of how our brains are wired. Our brains are designed to be efficient, and they need a signal to know which information is important enough to keep. If we don't give it that signal, it gets discarded to make room for new, more relevant input. So the question isn't if we'll forget, but how we can tell our brain what's worth remembering. Now, this sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? Like we're doomed to constantly forget everything we learn. But Ebbinghaus didn't just discover the problem, he also discovered the solution. The key to flattening that steep forgetting curve and turning that rapid drop into a gentle slope lies in a powerful technique called spaced repetition. This is the secret weapon used by top students, medical professionals, and language learners all over the world to master vast amounts of information. So, what is it? Spaced repetition is the exact opposite of cramming. Instead of reviewing material over and over again in one long, exhausting session, you strategically review it at increasing intervals over time. The magic is in the timing. You want to revisit the information right at the moment you're about to forget it. Let me explain how this works. Imagine you learn a new concept today. According to the forgetting curve, your memory of it will start to plummet. But what if, just as it's starting to fade, say 1 day later, you review it again? That simple act of recalling the information sends a powerful signal to your brain. Hey, this is important. Don't throw it away. This review resets the forgetting curve, but this time the curve is less steep. The information will stick around in your brain for longer before it starts to fade again. So now you might not need to review it for another 3 days. When you review it on day 3, you're again interrupting the forgetting process, and the memory becomes even stronger. The next review might be a week later, then 2 weeks, then a month, and so on. Each time you successfully retrieve the memory from the brink of being forgotten, you're forcing your brain to work harder to access it. This effort strengthens the neural pathways associated with that memory, making it more robust and easier to access in the future. This process is what neuroscientists call memory consolidation. You are actively moving information from your fragile, short-term memory into your vast, permanent, long-term memory. It's like building a path in a forest. The first time you walk it, it's just trampled grass. But each time you walk that same path, it becomes more defined, clearer, and easier to travel. Spaced repetition does the exact same thing for the neural pathways in your brain. You're not just rereading or relearning, you're actively practicing the skill of retrieval, which is the most critical part of memory. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, But how on earth am I supposed to keep track of when to review hundreds or thousands of different pieces of information? I'd need a super complex calendar and a full-time assistant. And you'd be right. Trying to manage a spaced repetition system manually would be an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, we live in the 21st century and we have incredible tools that can do all the heavy lifting for us. Let's talk about the practical side of this. The most popular way to implement spaced repetition is with digital flashcard apps. The undisputed king of these apps is called Anki. Anki is a free open-source program that is incredibly powerful. Here is how it works. You create digital flashcards with a question on one side and an answer on the other. When you review a card, you tell the app how difficult it was for you to recall the answer. You might have options like again, hard, good, or easy. Based on your feedback, Anki's algorithm automatically schedules the next time you'll see that card. If a card was easy, you might not see it again for weeks or months. If it was hard, you might see it again in a few minutes or the next day. The app completely automates the process of optimal review timing, ensuring you see each piece of information at the perfect moment to maximize retention. It takes the guesswork out of studying and allows you to learn with surgical precision. There are other great apps too, like Quizlet or SuperMemo, that use similar principles. But what if you're more of a hands-on analog person? Don't worry, there's a system for you too. It's called the Leitner system, named after its inventor, Sebastian Leitner. All you need are some physical index cards and a few boxes, or just sections in one box. Here is the basic idea. You start with all your new flashcards in box 1. Every day, you go through the cards in box 1. If you get a card right, you promote it to box 2. If you get it wrong, it stays in box 1. Now, here's the spaced repetition part. You'll review the cards in box 1 every day, but you'll only review the cards in box 2 every 2 or 3 days. If you get a card from box 2 right, it gets promoted to box 3, which you might review only once a week. If you get a card wrong from any box, it gets demoted all the way back to box 1. This system naturally ensures that you spend the most time on the information you find difficult, while the stuff you know well gets reviewed less frequently. It's a simple but brilliant physical manifestation of the spaced repetition algorithm. The beauty of these systems, whether digital or physical, is that they transform studying from a passive activity into an active, engaging process. You're no longer just highlighting text or rereading notes, which are notoriously ineffective learning strategies. Instead, you are constantly testing yourself, forcing your brain to retrieve information, which is the single most effective way to build lasting memories. This method, known as active recall, combined with the spaced timing, is the 1-2 punch that knocks out the forgetting curve. So let's recap. We all suffer from the forgetting curve, where our memory for new information drops off a cliff almost immediately after learning it. It's not your fault, it's just how our brains work. But we can fight back. The ultimate weapon is spaced repetition, reviewing information at strategically increasing intervals. You do this right when you're about to forget it, forcing your brain to work and strengthen that memory. This process, called memory consolidation, moves information from short-term to long-term storage. And you can easily implement this using powerful tools like the Anki app or the physical Leitner box system. By adopting this approach, you'll not only remember more, but you'll also study more efficiently. You'll waste less time reviewing things you already know and focus your energy on what you're about to forget. Imagine heading into an exam feeling calm and confident, knowing that the information is locked securely in your long-term memory, ready to be accessed, not just crammed in there a few hours before. This is not a magic trick. It's a science-backed method that can fundamentally change your relationship with learning. Stop letting the forgetting curve dictate your success. Start using spaced repetition today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tips on how to learn smarter, not harder. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tried spaced repetition and what your favorite tools are. See you in the next video.